If you're going to cut that much money, you're going to the Pentagon and you're going to Social Security and Medicare. And those are things, at least in terms of the entitlements, that Donald Trump boo. Right, you like those programs.
Are they booing the inconvenient truth that just moments ago was announced as factual?
Is that they could cut. John Thune, who is the Senate incoming Republican leader, who also met with Elon Musk this morning, told me that perhaps mandatory programs are areas that they are looking to make cuts in, like Social Security, for example.
Nothing is sacrosanct. Nothing. They're going to put everything on the table.
That's what they told lawmakers. Everything is on the table, and that includes Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
I mean, it's a Fox News audience. What can we expect?
I love having an audience.
But before we unpack this, let's just first tip our hat to whoever thought it a good idea to include Midas' mighty favourite and resident voice of sanity on Fox News The 5, Jessica Tarlov, on the live panel, considering the absolute meltdown that ensued across social media after. Perhaps they weren't in the mood for inconvenient truths amidst the endless diatribe they willfully consume.
Let's just be clear, we're not going to make Canada the 51st state. We'll make it 51 and 52. You make Western Canada, that'll be Republican. Eastern Canada, that'll be Democrat, so you keep the electoral balance there. So many reasons to make this a state. I think it has the third largest oil reserves in the world.
Oh, a lot.
So that makes us an energy behemoth. It's the most well-educated country in the world because we need a little help in that department. Talk about mining, agriculture, fishing, AI, tech, real estate, Canada, you name it, they got it. We'll never probably lose another Winter Olympics. We'll have all of their skaters and skiers. Wow. I mean, good luck, Sweden. And they share our cultural heritage. They share our language. It's just a no-brainer. Now, I don't know if Canada is going to go along with it, but there's ways to maybe change their opinion.
Do you want to end it there?
I'll end it there.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
The army's minuscule, but that's fine.
However, during a telling moment in which Jessica Tarlov opted to bring up the programs that both Trump and his allies have long been salivating over cutting, the audience erupted in boos because either they don't like admitting to pesky facts.
One last question.
Go ahead.
Entitlements ever be on your plate?
At some point they will be. We have tremendous growth. We're going to have tremendous growth. This next year, it'll be toward the end of the year. The growth is going to be incredible. And at the right time, we will take a look at that. You know, that's actually the easiest of all things, if you look, because it's such a big percentage.
If you're willing to do something.
If you don't cut something in entitlements, you'll never really deal with the debt.
We'll be cutting, but we're also going to have growth like you've never had before.
Really, if you're going to cut that much money, you're going to the Pentagon and you're going to Social Security and Medicare. And those are things, at least in terms of the entitlements, that Donald Trump boo. Right, you like those programs. Yeah. I love having an audience.
It's just today, after meeting with Elon Musk, Republican leader Senator John Thune hinted at plans to cut Social Security.
Is that they could cut. John Thune, who is the Senate incoming Republican leader, who also met with Elon Musk this morning, told me that perhaps mandatory programs are areas that they are looking to make cuts in.
This group set up to kind of look at cutting the federal government with Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy. It's not a part of the administration. It's kind of separate, but very close to. But a lot of what they do, one would think, would have to go through Congress. Is the Senate ready to really dismantle the federal bureaucracy like they're talking about?
Well, I think this is long overdue, honestly. And frankly, I'm excited because, you know, there is a very low percentage of federal workers who are actually back at work. There was one report not that long ago of a study that had done, it was reported on by the New York Times, that said only 6% of federal workers are back. You know, if that's true, there ought to be some real opportunities to achieve some savings. And frankly, for that matter, why do we have all these agencies and departments here in Washington, D.C.? They could be other places around the country because people aren't showing up at the office anyway.
Now, it's no secret that in the wake of Donald Trump's election win, Republicans have been chomping at the bit to go after their favorite targets when they need to fundraise or pretend they're actually doing something. Government programs such as Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. In an interview with Fox Business on Tuesday morning, Representative Richard McCormick complained that, quote, 75% of the budget is non-discretionary and outlined GOP plans to tackle it.
Ramaswamy has said, he was asked about Social Security,
and he would not commit to cuts, instead saying that they would eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. I think those are some of the things you have in mind when you're talking about efficiencies. But when you look at studies of the amount that would save if it's actually excised, it's puny. I mean, that is not anywhere close to the number that they're talking about with DOGE. Don't you have to cut Social Security to hit that number?
You absolutely do not have to cut Social Security to hit that number. As a matter of fact, Medicare and Medicaid is where we should be looking at trying to find efficiencies. Healthcare costs have skyrocketed, particularly after Obamacare was implemented, and there are opportunities for us to try to find ways to rein in that spending on the healthcare side. I also think that there is discretionary spending that we should be looking at. That we can tackle, but I don't think Social Security is something that's even being discussed by House Republicans.
Well, it is by one, actually, your colleague. Let's listen to Congressman Rich McCormick.
The problem with the Democrats is they've never run out of things that they can give away for free, quote unquote. When you talk about $8 trillion in debt payment just on interest alone every year, we can't just talk about the military, though. And the military can do some things better. We can save some money just in the way of contract. We can be careful that we don't decrease our abilities because China is right on our heels. However, if you talk about 75% of the budget, 75% is non-discretionary. We're going to have some hard decisions. We got to bring the Democrats in and talk about Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. There's hundreds of billions of dollars to be saved, and we know how to do it. We just have to have the stomach to actually take those challenges on. But we can't just talk about our discretionary budget. That's less than 25% of our budget. We have to have some real hard discussions.
I mean, this is something that is being discussed by people who are saying the quiet part out loud.
He actually didn't say cuts, but there are reforms that can be done to Social Security to actually shore it up. Look, the reality is, if we don't do something in the next 8 years or so, Social Security will become insolvent. So we have to do something to protect Social Security now and into the future.
But I hear what you're saying about that, but we're talking about $2 trillion. If you had a smaller number, it might make sense what you're talking about, the inefficiencies. But that there wouldn't be a cut, or for instance, that if you're talking about, as Donald Trump has promised, deporting illegal immigrants, they contribute a large amount to Social Security that is withheld from their pay in many, obviously many instances when it is on the books, which it is in a lot of cases. So you'd be losing that money. I mean, this isn't
not at all surprising considering Donald Trump floated this very idea of cutting Social Security and Medicare, saying in March.
Your outlook on how to handle entitlements, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, Mr. President, it seems like something has to be done, or else we're going to be stuck at 120% of debt to GDP forever.
So first of all, there is a lot you can do in terms of entitlements, in terms of cutting. And
sentiment echoed by House Speaker Mike Johnson, who promised to cut the programs in favor of boosting the country's military spending. I know, the notoriously underfunded US military. My God, these are the people in charge. And the infamous conservative manifesto, Project 2025, which Trump and the GOP tried to distance themselves from until Trump's election victory, before he just hired many of its architects.
I do want to say something, though, about Tom Homan.
Mm-hmm.
So for everyone who said Trump doesn't know what Project 2025 is, he just put a key contributor in charge of this. And Tom Homan was interviewed on 60 Minutes, and he was asked, is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families? And he said, of course there is. Families can be deported together. He also said that it didn't mean if someone was coming to be, quote unquote, rounded up and grandma was in the house and she's undocumented, that it didn't necessarily mean that grandma wouldn't be taken to. And you can say Donald Trump has a mandate till you're blue in the face. Taking grandma is not what people were voting for. They were voting for criminals to be kicked out of this country.
Also included drastic cuts to the popular programs. Yes, you heard that part right. Popular programs. You see, it's hard to find many things that 80% of Americans agree on. In various polls taken earlier this year, 4 out of 5 Americans said that Joe Biden was too old to run for a second term, the government was doing a bad job dealing with migrants at the Mexican border, and the cost of prescription drugs is unreasonable. Oh, and yeah, one more area. 80% of Americans concur that Social Security benefits should not be cut. But the thing is, on those issues, the response seemingly favored the will of the people, right? Biden didn't run for a second term. Both Democratic and Republican lawmakers tried to tackle the border before Trump blew that up. And the Biden administration have lowered the cost of prescription drug prices. So why are we booing the very thing that Donald Trump wants to do, the very unpopular thing? The majority of Americans oppose it. Oh, that's right, because it's a Fox News audience.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.